Working away inside this car. Apologise for the breakup on that picture, but pretty bad weather conditions here.
The Wins Commodore, the combination of Darren Hossack and Stephen Ellery. As we have a look at this battle going on here, we switch quickly because Larry Perkins is all over John Bowe, really applying the pressure.
Trying to pick their way past Gavin Monaghan in Mike Conway's Falcon. Another one of the many privateers running here. Conway looked like he giving him racing room. Anyway, we cut to the rear bumper of the Shell 17 Ford. You're sitting in the slipstream as Larry Perkins tries to find a way past the 17 Ford. It's a drag race up Brock Straight. Hard under brake. Shell Helix takes you aboard. It is tremendous battle. It's been going on lap after lap, and no one wants to give an inch.
Well, certainly Larry's not going to give in. Just getting back to what we were talking about earlier with the 17 Falcon, Murray Bunn, New Zealand engineer, has been working extensively with Dick Johnson Racing. And this is the car that, in fact, John Bowe crashed at the Indy Carnival on the Gold Coast. And we're having a bit of a joke yesterday, saying we should call it the Evolution car because it's going to go through several stages. They're working very hard to overcome the mid-corner understeer that they had. And it's totally been redesigned in quite a few different areas, and Murray Bunn's going to keep developing the car. So Dick Johnson Racing are very excited about it.
Stephen Richards, meanwhile, is catching this group. He's sitting back there in 6th position. Look at Stevie Richards, the Valvoline Commodore. He's picking his way up through this top 10. He's up in the top 6. Incredible stuff. But yeah, just following up what you were saying, Lee, the most visual difference you'll see in the Shell Helix Ford number 17 is the driving position when you look at the car in side view. John Bowe sitting almost behind the B pillar. So the very rearward driving position, which seems to be common practice in touring car racing now. You can see he's right back in the seat. Extend the steering column out. And there is John Bowe, hard at work. Top touring car drivers in the country. We've got some telemetry on the Shell 17 Ford, so you can see exactly what's going on, the working insides this car. There's your speed, your road speed on the left-hand side. It's 230 kilometres an hour shifting back, revs. With the rev limit up to 7,500 RPM. There's your gear selection down there. And you'll see the braking sign flash on whenever John hits that middle pedal. So you're riding with John Bowe, and you can feel every pulse of this V8 monster.
Shell Helix in-car camera. John Bowe, the man that was involved in that three-way dice for this year's Shell Australian Touring Car Championship.
We go back with John. Look at this tremendous statistics coming out of the Shell Ford. Revs up in 5th gear. Will pull 6th as he heads up toward the top of Holden Rise. Look at the road speed there, 242. Shifting back to 5th as he comes down. Let's have a listen to John Bowe as he works away at the wheel.
Just a fantastic sound from inside that big V8 Ford. Here comes Perkins. The outside run in the Castrol Commodore. Larry has come right up alongside, and he's in fact gone past John Bowe. So the big roar from the crowd. Larry in front of his home crowd. He has moved up into that 3rd position behind Greg Murphy, now ahead of John Bowe. Perkins is on the charge from 11th up into 3rd.
Call him the Castrol slingshot. That was a fantastic run out of that corner. Really sprung out of the corner on a Brock Straight. Carried that speed all the way past. John Bowe did not have an answer for him. Perkins had him covered by halfway down the straight, nailed him under brakes, and now he moves up into that critical 3rd position. So now it's Alan Jones still in control, building that lead over Murphy in 2nd. He's out to 8 seconds now, the lead between 1st and 2nd, and then Larry Perkins sitting back about 6 seconds behind the Holden Racing Team car.
That little particular battle there has closed right up because Johnson's now right up behind Bowe. We have a look at our race leader, Alan Jones, and the Komatsu Pertec Falcon. He is just going so well on lap 37. There's still a long way to go. This is Jonesy's 12th Sandown appearance, and he hasn't had a great deal of luck over the past 11 times that he's competed in the endurance race here at Sandown. In fact, he's retired 7 out of those 11 times, so he'll be looking to change that. He's never won the Sandown 500, Mark, so...
The way he sweeps across onto that wet line, just preserving those tyres. He knows he's still got a long way to go. It's not costing him any speed. He's still the fastest man on the track. That's very, very clever driving, the way he's making those tyres hang together, keeping the temperatures down by running them through that water, because they are a very soft compound tyre.
That shows you how far Greg Murphy is behind. We're giving you time earlier on, around about 6 seconds. We saw it visually there. Quite a bit of ground between Alan Jones and Greg Murphy. John Smales.
Yeah, lying in 12th position, Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon has just come to the pits and put the car away. Doesn't mean it's out of the race, just away. Andrew Madecki, co-driver, what's happened?
Well, we're investigating the cause. The car has slowed down. It could be a diff problem or a gearbox problem, we think. The engine appears to be okay. But we're checking out now that we want to keep on running for the sake of Mitre 10, who are fantastic sponsors.
During the spin, it took a lot of mud into the air intakes. Could that have caused the loss of power?
No, we monitor that on our computers in the pits, and while we had a 10-degree rise in temperature, that's completely within acceptable bounds.
John Smales with the Holden pit report there, and that's disappointing for both Mark Larkham and Andrew Madecki after qualifying the Mitre 10 Falcon on the front row. Meanwhile, his teammate is leading the way. Alan Jones has got quite a comfy run, lap 38 of 161. Jones is looking good.
Well, that'll be a bit of a worry for Ross and Jim Stone who prepare these two cars, both the Mitre 10 Ford and this car for Alan Jones Racing, the Komatsu Falcon. Problem there. Let's hope Jones can go through without any sort of mechanical or technical hitch. There's your leaderboard. There's 9 through to 12. Tremendous battles right up and down through the field. The beauty of V8 supercar racing is, particularly as the years wear on, the teams are getting better and better at what they do, and that's making the competition tighter and tighter. 38 laps into this race. And the top 10 cars are covered by 30 seconds. Quite phenomenal. Here's the Shell duo. John Bow now. Larry Perkins attacked him for a number of laps. He's got through. Now he's coming under attack from Stephen Johnson.
We were saying earlier, Mark, or I was saying earlier that Stephen had a dreadful start to the year when he was racing in New Zealand. He was racing in the Trans Am series over there and broke his leg quite badly. He's come back from that, and he's doing very, very well. He pulls out of the draft, has a look up the outside of John Bow. No opportunity there, and looming in the background is another Stephen, another son of a famous race driver, Stephen Richards, the Valvoline Cummins Commodore.
I'll tell you what, that time around, Stephen Richards in the Valvoline car is the fastest man on the track. He's just done a 1:23.37. That's quicker than our race leader, Alan Jones. So the setup on the Valvoline Cummins Commodore, Gary Rogers Motorsport car, is working an absolute treat in these changeable conditions.
Speaking of working, they just work flat out all year during the racing season. We'll talk more about that later. Bright and Jones, they are the lead combination. Murphy, Perkins, Bow and Stephen Johnson. We have a look back, 6 through 10. It's Stevie Richards on the charge. Gardner, Finnegan, Faulkner and Noski will be back on Network 10 after this.
To you by Windscreens O'Brien.
And what a start it was. There's the 05 Commodore of Peter Brock on pole in a very wet day at Sandown. Marvellous reception from the crowd. A valedictory for Brock. They named the main straight Brock Straight after the great man. But unfortunately, nasty things were to happen a little ways down the track. We'll come to that in just a moment. It was Alan Jones, the big mover early. He took John Bow. Great manoeuvre, moved up on the inside of Glenn Seaton there and was putting pressure. As you see, Jones and Larkham had a little collection there. They spun off. Larkham was on the front row, now in the pits, probing the car to find out why it lost its power. Peter Brock also in the pits, throttle cable problems. Disastrous day for the man that most of the people here came to see. In front of his hometown crowd, Brock has since rejoined the race. Murphy takes the lead. Murphy and Lowndes, defending champions here. And so HRT was still very much in the Tickford 500. Seaton in the pits with air brake problems. Air in the brakes and pumping the pedal to bleed them. Jones and Longhurst in a duel back on track. Jones takes over and moves into second place. That was the start of a move backwards for Tony Longhurst. He's now 13th in the race, and then Jones took Murphy to lead the Tickford 500, and he still does. Peter Brock got back into the event, 10 laps down, only to slide off moments after rejoining the race. So it was Jones in front from Murphy. Larry Perkins in third after taking John Bow in a marvellous manoeuvre on Brock Straight. Incredible stuff here in the Tickford 500. And in the break, Stephen Johnson has taken fourth place. Stephen Richards fifth, pushing John Bow back to sixth. And we'll have a look at now where many of our great pictures today are coming from. The Whitman's Chocolates Lightship. There it is, a marvellous view, and that is where the camera is on not a wonderful day to be up in the sky here at Sandown, but nevertheless the racing on the ground is sensational.
Alan
Jones is the man who continues to do the business. But how about the young guys? Stephen Richards, the Valvoline Cummins Commodore, has moved up into the top 5. He's in fact in 4th position and just running red hot on lap 44 of 161. So a little over the quarter of the way through the race, and this would just be so good to see Stephen Richards and the entire Gary Rogers team get what they deserve and a good result in the Tickford 500.
Well, the 3 fastest men on the track at the moment are all on Bridgestone tyres. Alan Jones, he's doing a 23.4. Stephen Richards just on a 23.5. And John Faulkner in the better electrical cars just on a 23. He's just clocked up a 24.7 that time around. But then the 3 fastest cars on that previous lap. And Stephen Richards particularly brilliant in this car. The Valvoline Cummins Commodore, prepared by Gary Rogers Motorsport, under the team management of Mike Exel. Mike, very much a hands-on sort of team manager, builds the engines, does a lot of the development work, the construction of the car, and Stephen Richards particularly doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. There's plenty of times I've been around the garage and he's had his feet poking out from underneath the car.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about the team, because they work so hard. Not only do they compete in the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship and the V8 Supercars, they also compete in the Australian Super Touring Championship. So they virtually just go from one race meeting to the next. They work flat out. They only have one transporter. They've got to return to Melbourne, unload the transporter, reload it with the other car and the other sets of gear, and off they go again. So for, say, 8 or 9 months of the year, they are very, very busy people.
There's our elapsed time. We're just over 1 hour into the Tickford 500, lap 45, 1 hour, 4 minutes into this race. So you can see we've got a long, long way to go. We haven't even got to our first brake changes yet, and even our first fuel stop, which should be happening in about the 53, 54 lap bracket. So that'll be very exciting.
Well, we quite often talk about how much this guy, Alan Jones, in the Komatsu Pertec Falcon, likes being out in front. It's right where he is at the moment, and he is really doing a good job of it. He's got a 10-second buffer, a 10-second lead over Mobile Holden Racing Team's Greg Murphy, who's also doing a good job in 2nd position, just holding it steady, just consolidating, and that really is the philosophy and the way to attack these endurance races. You can see Tony Longhurst in the background there of that shot. Tony has now fallen 1 lap down, and he'll be a little bit disappointed.
And behind him, coming through the spray now, is the fastest man on the track, just behind this bunch, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. He's just dropped into the 1 minute 22 second bracket, a 22.99. So the track's starting to dry out again, and the Dunlop's working particularly well under those conditions.
Well, I was talking with David Siegel, the Shell Helix publicity guy yesterday, their PR person, and we were talking about earlier this year in Western Australia at the Barbagallo circuit, where it was wet and it was drying, and he said the Dunlops are just so good, and he said if those conditions come tomorrow, well, he said you can guarantee our cars are going to be going all right.
Greg Murphy is about to feel the pressure from Larry Perkins as they come through some slower traffic. Look at the amount of ground that Larry Perkins has made up of Murphy in that half a lap. They squeeze on the inside of the Castrol Cougars Commodore, driven by Melinda Price and Karen Brewer, and Larry Perkins, right hand over fist. He's nailed the back bumper of this car. He is really the fastest man on the track, no two ways about it.
Let's keep it in mind, he started in 11th position, and he's now challenging for that 2nd spot. The Castrol Commodore, Perkins Engineering entry, is really red hot.
Well, the tyre engineers have been doing a good job. Plenty of competition amongst brands. Alan Jones, the fastest man on Bridgestones, the 22s. He's just hit a bit of traffic there, jumped into the 23s. On a clear lap, these guys are running in the 1 minute 22 second bracket, which proves the track is drying out, continuing to dry out. And both the Bridgestone and the Dunlop wet weather compound is working well in these conditions.
Well, we're getting a little bit excited about Larry reeling in Murphy. I don't think you're going to see too much of a struggle from Murphy if things get really hot and Larry's climbing all over him, because there's still a long way to go. Still a really long way to go. Up onto the back straight. Lap 47. There's the split from Alan Jones back to Greg Murphy. A little over 13 seconds, so quite a handy margin. Wasn't that long ago that I mentioned to you it was 10 seconds, so AJ is clearing out.
Yep, 13 seconds, 13.05 over Murphy, this man in 1.5. Larry Perkins right behind him. Stephen Richards continuing his charge. He's some 20 seconds behind Alan Jones at the moment. They're getting plenty of speed out of the Valvoline Cummins Commodore consistently. One of the top 3 or 4 fastest cars on the track.
Greg finished 4th in this year's Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. He was a little bit disappointed with that because he was expecting to be number one. He wanted to be number one. That was his aim, like every other driver. He had a few ups and downs. An interesting thing to look at is that he won six races throughout the year. Glenn Seaton, who ended up being the champion, won 10 races. So Greg was certainly on the pace when everything was going right. He was just dogged by some troubles. Here's the entry, Bruce Williams, the Simcoe entry, Bruce Williams and Paul Gover. It's coming on through the Hossack Ellery entry. Then we come to our leader now, the Komatsu Pertec Falcon. Alan Jones leads the way. And Mark, how must Jason Bright be feeling at the moment? Watching Alan out in front, he's thinking, this is just going to be fantastic. I'm stepping into the lead car when we change.
Yeah, plenty of responsibility on his shoulders, but he's a guy with an enormous amount of experience, young Jason Bright. He almost won the the American Formula Ford 2000 Championship at his first attempt last year. Just got beaten in the final round. For a young Aussie to go over there, compete at that level, was very, very impressive. Barry Sheen.
Yeah, Christian, congratulations on winning the Formula 4. What did you say to the old man before he went out?
Oh, he basically told me how to drive in the wet this morning around here, and pretty much he's showing just how good those lines are.
All right. Kids, I don't know. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, indeed. A definite chip off the old block. Young Christian Jones, 18 years of age. His father turns 50 this year. And plenty of skill being shown at both ends of the age spectrum. Alan Jones just attacking in that way. He always did. Anyone who followed this man's Formula One career, he almost seemed like a second wind when he got into the car, and he would just drive some absolutely blinding laps. Incredibly aggressive, hard racer, and he's never backed off throughout a very, very good career.
To give you an indication of how quickly that Alan is going. And the Conway Monaghan entry just falling off the side of the track there. They've obviously gone off before that. Look at the mud.
Doing a bit of rally crossing there. I think it's Gavin Monaghan was doing the first stint in this car.
Yes, yeah.
Ex-Dick Johnson Racing, EB Falcon. Look at this. Whoa, he's right off the line. HSV replay takes you on this ride. The Cadillac Productions Falcon. Ex-John Trimble car. Ex-Dick Johnson Racing has done a few miles and is going to do a few more. But unfortunately, covered in a lot of dirt there. Let's hope the car's not damaged.
He's going to need a good wash after that too.
So the Simcoe Commodore, Bruce Williams, Paul Gover, just in front of Alan Jones here as he tries to pick his way through the traffic. He wants to keep up this momentum that he's built. Tremendous lead, just over 14 seconds now on Murphy and the Holden Racing Team Commodore. So Jones is blitzing him. It's just been one continuous surge toward the front from the moment this race has started, and he has not relented. Best lap of 1:22.71. That was a few. Actually, he's just done that. He's just fired off a 1:22.71. So when he gets some clear traffic ahead of him, this car is very, very quick.
Just coming past Bruce Williams there. Bruce starting to prove himself as a very diverse driver, competing in the Car Series in the Australian Super Speedway Series. He did this year in the Formula Holden, and now he's entered the ranks of V8 supercars. So a name to watch out for there, Bruce Williams.
Good battle here too, and Bruce Williams, I think, just waving through. Darren Hossack waving his fist. So there must have been a little coming together there as they break the shell corner, but they've managed to get through unscathed. 05 back in the race, but a long, long way back. 23rd position, Peter Brock. Our race leader Jones is on 49 laps. This car on 39 laps. 10 laps down. Boy, oh boy. What a disappointment for the big Sandown crowd who came in here to see Peter Brock off. And they're hoping to see him go out on a winning note.
It was good. Peter was just so determined that he was going to get back out on the track when they pushed the car into the garage. He did not get out of the car, stayed buckled in. He was just absolutely determined that he was going to continue this race. His final race here at Sandown, his final endurance race here at Sandown in the Tickford 500. At the moment he's 10 laps down with a lot of work to do. At least he is out on the track.
Just extraordinary how his luck has turned around. Just meanwhile, we hear from the pits that Alan Jones is planning to come into the first of his scheduled stops in about 4 laps. We'll watch that very closely. It'll be the first of the official stops, and that should be pretty much bang on target.
Well, we're on lap 50. Still plenty to go. 111 laps left to run. We're getting through them reasonably quickly. What's happened has already happened. We stay on the 05 Commodore. Peter Brock equaling Alan Moffat's record, and it is a record of how many times he's competed here in the endurance race at Sandown. 28 times. This is Peter's 28th appearance at Sandown.
This is his teammate Greg Murphy. Now, he was under maximum attack from Perkins just a while ago. Perkins caught him hand over fist, was right on the bumper, but he seems to have responded. Looking at the lap times, he's matching Perkins lap for lap, and managing to hold this gap. So Murphy's really got the hammer down. The car must be working reasonably well. Lap 51. We're getting very close to that first pit stop. There's a lot of intrigue to know which teams are going to change their brake pads in the first stop or the second stop. Should be an absolute flurry of activity. All the cars coming in about that lap window.
Murphy coming up on Gavin Monahan. He's going to have to try and work his way past him fairly quickly and not give an advantage to Larry. He gets stuck behind Gavin. Coming through XR8 corner at the top end of the circuit. There's Gavin Monahan in the 79 Cadillac Productions entry, and you can see Larry Perkins has got his way past Bruce Williams. Just the back end getting a little bit taily there under brakes. He's starting to catch up on Murph. Seaton has gone off the circuit. No harm done though, he just comes straight back on. Oh, there is harm done indeed. Have a look at the front spoiler.
Yeah, let's just rip the under tray off the front of the car. That's a very critical part of the aerodynamic balance of these cars. Once you take that front under tray away, it means you've got maximum downforce on the rear and virtually no grip on the front. And that'll make the car very, very hard to drive. Let's have a look at that on the replay. HSV replay takes you on a wild ride across the country. Bang, there goes that spoiler. Seaton is having an absolute shocker. Just things are going from bad to worse. Not the build-up he'd like to the Primus 1000 on October 19.
Well, when that happened, he was in 14th position. 2